Hey, Simone here. Good to see you guys. As always, I want to talk to you about some trends that I'm seeing in the industry since I'm always out there helping people, talking to hundreds of people every month. So I read an interesting article in Business Roundtable a few days ago that talked about that this year marks the year that has the most CEOs fired ever, like more than 2008. So this is kind of interesting. Because of course, you wonder why. It's like, of course, one reason is always profit. Then a lot of retirement has happened, and then personal misconduct has come in from a lot of those people who have been fired. So one of the things that the article was talking about, how today's leadership needs to really change, and it's not in alignment anymore with the workforce. So many of today's leaders are still the product of aristocratic leadership. When we think about that, what does that mean? It means basically to do as I tell you. This is your to-do list. Get it done and don't bother me. So that's kind of, the general sense of it. Now, when we think about who today's workforce is, this massively clashes with expectations, because when we think about Gen Y and Gen Z, they're not going to be okay with that do as I am told, as I tell you attitude. And they also have some really different expectations in terms of who are these companies they work for. Although when we think about it, I know millennials are always the popular whipping child for everybody's culture problems. But one of the things that both of those generations, Gen Y and Gen Z, have as a real emphasis is that they work more for love than money. So they really have to believe in the company's mission, in the culture, in the social impact, the social influence, all that kind of stuff that this company is making. They will work a lot harder for a lot less money when they believe in those two things. Now, with those two things also comes they want to have a hand in, they want to have some sort of influence in how that goes. So they want to be engaged in the solution. Doesn't mean they have to come up with the solution, but they have to be engaged with the solution. So when we think about how, past leaders were doing things that aristocratic style, see, I can't even say it. And that's all about just here's your list and do it and get it done at a certain time. And then you have this product of today's society that's looking for much more engagement. You have a serious gap. So when we think about the cost of this gap, what that gap causes, loss of profit, of course, is huge because we have loss of productivity. We have huge churn in a lot of companies. I mean, it's kind of crazy when I'm looking at one of the companies I'm working with. It's a $3 billion company, and their churn rate is so high, they can't keep up with hiring at any time. And it also means there's a lot of stuff that they're not doing right because people are just leaving left and right, and that's not okay. So loss of productivity, loss of profit, of course, and that causes, of course, a lot of frustration, fear, chaos in all the different directions. For the CEO, it's incredibly frustrating to see your profit drain away with any of these results that are expected and not delivered. And of course, when you train people and then they go off and they work for somebody else instead, or they don't deliver what you asked them for, and your reputation is on the line. Your investors are looking down their nose at you going, hey, where are my results? I'm not seeing that you're reaching the benchmarks here that we expected. So the CEO is super stressed because of this happening. And then, of course, on the other side, we have the team of people who came to this company because they believed in it. And when you have a CEO who's not a good leader and who's not leading to today's standards, you have a team of people who's feeling disempowered and demotivated, who are coming to the table with their own solutions that are not being used. So they're feeling angry and resentment and all these kind of things that are not exactly leading to having an aligned team of superstars that can deliver amazing results. So those are just some things to think about that's really different these days. So this has been so prevalent that Business Roundtable actually they release these principles of corporate governance every so often. Like they've been doing that since I think 1978. So they define what the laws or the expectations are of corporate environment. And whether you're a startup or a corporation or this, your own 5-person business, it's the same thing. So they released a statement of purpose of a corporation, and it says, well, let's actually go back to what it used to be. It used to be the job of the leader, of the CEO, was one job only, and that was increase profit. Now, increasing profit at any cost. We're talking human cost, we're talking polluted environment, we're talking toxic and horrible work culture, we're talking about all the things that make you not work for a company. That was okay for the love of money. Now, that's not okay anymore because the younger generations won't want to work for a company that causes these type of things. So what we really have to look at is like, how is the job of the CEO changing, and how does that impact how you're hiring, how you're growing people, how you're being a leader, because it's a pretty big deal. So, the has-been is really that old breed of CEO that used to work with just getting influence by fear, that used to work by just making those to-do lists and telling people what to do, where, you could holler and scream and just, it would still be okay, where it wasn't really a big deal losing your temper, where it was totally fine not supporting your team, canceling your one-on-ones, moving stuff around all the time, basically making them feel completely unimportant. So all that stuff was okay. And you might be thinking I am making like the worst case scenario here, but just think about it. I mean, you and me and pretty much anybody else can probably think of having a leader that caused that in us, where we felt disempowered and demotivated, where pretty much we felt stripped of our superpowers that we came to bring to the company for that. That moment where you felt like you'd done a good job and given it your all, and then somebody just came in and basically, slashed your knees, and that was done. So that is still incredibly prevalent, and that's not working anymore. So the new breed of CEOs are the CEOs who keep in mind basically the profit of all customers. And we're talking about customers, I'm talking actual customers, I'm talking in general stakeholders, team, anybody who's engaged with the company. So it's now supposed to be that you are benefiting all these different people. So that means you have to be a spokesperson for your young and woke employees who are expecting that you help them grow and advance their career, that you define the values and the mission of the company and really demonstrate the social promise of your company. And if you do all that, of course, you can increase those profits that everybody else is looking for. So, how do you do that? We just created a brand new training at bulletproofstartups.com. I invite you to click in and check it out. It addresses all this stuff. This is really where I codified how you lead a company to victory as a leader in today's climate. So I hope I see you there. Have a great rest of your day.